Hello, this is Deborah Anderson, the Black Woman Animator, coming back to you with another video. And in this video, I have Melanie Goolsby. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So can you introduce yourself a little?
Sure. I am Melanie Goolsby. I am a wife and a mother of two little girls. I am a unemployed, currently creative executive. I was laid off a couple months ago, but I have worked in animation pretty much my entire career. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to there's a group called BlkWmnAnimator, and I went to their potluck a month ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy that like said he had worked at Netflix, and we're like, oh my God, you made it. Like
Hey, it's real.
I was like, we're like, congratulations.
Yeah, that's how it feels to make it out, because being on the other side.
Right. All right. So where are you from and how was it growing up?
So my dad was military, actually. So I don't really say I have like a home, or like I didn't grow up in a particular place. I was born in California. Actually, I was born in Monterey. My family is from Ohio. Everybody but me basically was born there.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived in California, and then we moved to Germany. So I lived in Germany for about 3.5 years. From Germany, I moved to Hawaii. So I lived in Hawaii for another 3.5 years. And then I moved to Seattle after that. And then, so I graduated from high school in Seattle, and then I moved to Atlanta to go to Spelman. So that is, where I'm from per se.
Right.
Different places. A lot of those places obviously like helped shape
Right.
them. And yeah, I was the youngest, of three girls. I have two older sisters, and yes, with that being the case, there was a lot. We're all 2 years apart, I would say.
Okay.
So there was a lot of different things, I would say, kind of happening on the TV. But when I, would gain access, I would watch a lot of like Sailor Moon. That was probably like my favorite show. So anyway, that's kind of, we family of five that just traveled because daddy was in the military.
Yeah.
A lot of women as well.
Yeah. So do you, I'm not sure which ages you were in these different places, but do you remember enough of like Germany, Hawaii? Like how did these places, like once you got to Seattle, like how did each place kind of add to who you are?
What's really interesting, and probably one of the main reasons I went to Spelman, is because I find a lot of value in the fact that I grew up in a bunch of different places and got to experience a lot of different people and cultures. But the flip side of that is that I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me growing up. I saw a lot of Germans when I was in Germany, a lot of Hawaiians when I was in Hawaii, a lot of white people, honestly, in Seattle. Being, near the military base, you get to see some people, but I had never lived in a place that was predominantly Black, like predominantly people who looked like me.
Right.
And so graduating, I was like, there's a place that exists like this? Are you like, and it's women?
Right.
Oh, sign me up. Like that is, I couldn't wait to go. And I mean, I seen it on BET.
Right.
See, I was watching the music videos, and I remember, this is so hilarious, because eventually I ended up working with him, but I remember watching the Welcome to Atlanta music video by Ludacris.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, I gotta get there. This is amazing.
Right.
So anyway, I knew that like that is what was important to me, being around people who look like me. And then that experience being at Spelman just made me even more so want to make sure that I was, whatever I did, I wanted to be a voice.
Yeah.
People who look like me and had, a similar experience, didn't get to see people who look like them. Like I knew that was important to me. And so figuring out, and I knew I wanted to be in entertainment. So like figuring out what that looked like, but definitely, there's value in being, exposed to different places, but there's also value in being around people who look like you.
So can you go into like, how did you specifically choose Spelman, and then talk about your experience at Spelman and HBCU?
Yes. So yeah, that I knew I wanted to like be around people who look like me. I remember the Welcome to Atlanta video. I remember trying to figure. I graduated high school and was caught up with some boy, and so I was like, I'm not gonna go to school yet because I'm gonna be like, his boo. So I stayed in Seattle for a year, being his girlfriend, and about halfway through that year, I was like, "Oh, this ain't for you, girl. He ain't even that great, and I got to do something else." And so I started looking at schools and looking at schools specifically in Atlanta. And then when I found Spelman, my mom she was moving to Alabama at the time, and she was trying to get me to go to a school in Alabama, and I was like, that ain't it for me. And the fact that it was an all girls school. I mean, obviously Morehouse is right there, and Clark Atlanta is right there, and First Brown, before it lost its accreditation, was right there. I think they got it back though. Shout out to that.
Yeah, but I think they keep going back and forth.
Yeah, I know. But like being able to be around different schools, but kind of having the safe haven of an all girls school, it was just really, really appealing to me. And then once I did the research on the school and started to really understand the history behind the number one HBCU in the country, and has been for the last 15 years. Let's talk about it. Able to understand that and being I found pride in that. And it was like, I want to be a part of this. And so when we went, my parents took me to go visit the school. And I mean, I just fell in love. Like, I just felt like, oh, this place was made for me. And so, so I got accepted, thankfully. And then I moved down there and had a ball, it was everything that I wanted it to be and needed it to be. And it was incredible. So growing up, I was many times, like in class, it's like, oh, I was an overachiever, right? Like a high performer in school. It always felt like school's easy, like whatever. And you're used to being top of your class. But when I got to Spelman, it was like everybody in the class was used to being top of their class. Everybody, was the overachiever. So all of a sudden, my little hey, this is easy. It started getting hard. Like everybody in it, and the people who were really succeeding and excelling were like the real. They were studying, and before I never studied. It just came kind of so it got real. Like it tested who I was and who I thought I was. I gotta really buckle down and figure it out. And that culture, the culture there, and the atmosphere there, and the people there, and the women there, it changed. Who I remember being like a freshman. I would see you go on campus and everybody would be dressed up except the freshmen, right? And nobody ever said anything about you have to be dressed up, but you just start to take notice, what everybody got heels on and sweats on, what y'all doing? And eventually sophomore year, right? Then
the culture.
You start to oh no, let me get myself together. Let me take a little pride in how I look. It is going to class, even if it wherever it is, let me take pride. And so just some of those really fundamental things just changed and really helped shape who I was and who I wanted to be. So I mean, I'm a HBCU advocate, first of all, but definitely a Spelman advocate. I'm yes, you should be around people who look like you and help you succeed and be the best version of you that you can be. Because as soon as college is over, you got to go out in the world and it's going to be a different story. So that sacred time, it was incredible for me.
Yeah, I remember several years ago, we dropped my niece off. She didn't finish, but we dropped my niece off at Hampton. And it just to there was a welcoming, and I'm like, dang, I didn't experience this. They had a song.
Fun. They're always no, because you went to HBCU, and I'm like, y'all should have. I don't know why y'all did.
Yeah, I remember. I don't even know what space I was in, because I know my aunt lived in Atlanta, and I know that I went to Spelman's campus. But to be funny, I just was they got 8 majors, and none of them is none of them is the one I need to be in.
That's so real. That is real, and that almost deterred me. Because Clark Atlanta was right there. And I was I want to be in entertainment. And I know Clark has communications as a major and Spelman doesn't. And I was I don't know what to do, because I want to go to Spelman, but I also, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I had that same, like, y'all can't have no more majors. Like, can y'all add some?
I was like, because throughout the decades, this HBCU versus PWI conversation comes up, and I was like, I found animation in my 12th grade year. I didn't have time to be like, oh, if I go to here, and then I just need to make an animation. And then I wanted to play basketball, so I literally didn't have that many places to choose from. I had 3 schools to choose from because art schools don't be having like basketball sports, and so I was like, I couldn't
athletics.
Yeah, so like so you wanted to be into entertainment, so like sociology was the best. Like, what? How did you choose sociology?
This is really, really funny, and this is embarrassing now that I'm an adult. I didn't know what major because I knew the major I wanted. They didn't have it. And so I called my oldest sister and I was like, what was your major? And she said sociology. And I was like, that sounds good. I'm going to do that. And that's how I picked my major, quite literally. I should call my sister. I don't even think she knows that. That's what happened though. I was like, this is my major. And then my roommate, who I love and is my best friend to this day, she was like studying to do pre-med. And she was struggling her freshman year. And I was like, Tiara, come on to sociology with me. And both of our majors were sociology. And we do nothing in the field. I was like, hey, listen, we just got to get out of here.
Do you feel like a morsel has helped you in your like a morsel of it anywhere?
What I decided in the moment of me like saying sociology, I decided if this is what I'm gonna do and I want to get an entertainment, I'm gonna have to bust my ass to figure out how to get internships so that I can get into this. Like that, if I wanted both of them, then I got to work really hard. And that's what and so I was like, I'm going to intern crazy. And I did. I interned every year that I was at Spelman. I don't even know if some of them years I wasn't even getting the credit, but I was just like, yo, I have to be able to put something on my resume because I'm not going to have the coursework that other people will have. So that's what I did.
That goes into my question, like, of course, do you feel like having internships gave you a leg up?
It did. It honestly did. My first internship I did at a radio station. I also, because I didn't have the coursework and like the exposure and a teacher telling me, I had to like really figure out
which part of entertainment.
Part of this. Nobody's teaching me. How do I figure it out? So I was like, I'm going to start in radio. So I did an internship for 2 summers. I did an internship in Seattle at a radio station. And I liked it, but it wasn't quite what I want. Like the concerts were cool, but it wasn't quite what I want. I also used to be obsessed with like 106 and Parks. I was like, I don't think that's it. I need closer to that. I need TV. So and then I also was working too, because I internships, they wasn't paying you. So I was trying to figure out, I need internships, but also having a job. So I did radio, and then I don't even remember how I came across this Emmy Award internship. But I was able to intern with the Emmy Awards. That felt really cool. It was like, because it's interns, it was like removed from like all the fancy stuff, but it was I got to be a part of the judging process.
Nice.
And so I was like, okay, this is really cool. I don't really like the dynamic of the room, and like the people who were in the room didn't again look like me. So I was like, I got to figure out like how to get there. So I did that one. And then I did an internship with the Atlanta Hawks and the Thrashers, which was the hockey team at the time. So I did a little sports stuff, and I was like actually on the court and dealing with the cameras and the grips, and I got to be in the production space. And I was like, okay, this is cool, but production is like intense, and folks be yelling and screaming at you, and directors be mad at you. And I was like, oh girl, like this might not. I'm getting closer, but this ain't it, because yelling at me, that ain't it. And it's so high, like tense, like it's so intense that I couldn't do it. I enjoyed that internship, but I was like, this ain't it either. And then in Atlanta, Turner is there. Turner what was Turner Broadcasting, and so but the next thing that made sense was to try to get in at
Mm-hmm.
Turner. And so they had an internship with TNT and TBS.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied, and apparently I applied late. But the recruiter messaged me and she was like, "You applied late, but I saw you went to Spelman,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a Spelman grad, so I'm gonna put you through. We're gonna have a
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yay!" So I ended up getting that internship, and I was so thankful for her because
Yeah.
she allowed me to do the interview. So I did that interview, and my very first job after I graduated was because of her. I had reached, and the people I met at the internship, I had reached out like, "Hey, I'm graduating soon, looking for a job." And she was like, "Oh, they have this program at Cartoon Network. You should interview if you're interested." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Let's do it." So all of that to say, I think the internships, all of the ones that I did, helped figure out what I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, those networking opportunities,
Yes.
me
Mm-hmm.
making those connections also helped me when it was time for me to actually get a job.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's so much power in our Black institutions, whether it's the HBCUs or the Greek organizations. Because even like when I became a Zeta, I was just like, as soon as I crossed, I just was like, I was going to Virginia for some reason. I'm like, I'm about to hit up some people, see if this works. And it did. They took me around the mall and all this stuff. I was like, oh, okay, it's an automatic network. They don't know you, but they be like, oh. And so that's what happened with you with Spelman. Like, oh, you're Spelman grad. I'm a Spelman grad. Like,
yes. People be
network
looking
is
out.
powerful.
They look out for you just simply because of those connections. It's amazing, really.
Yeah. Now that you've been in animation, what are your thoughts on the what are your thoughts about more HBCUs getting animation programs? I know there's like Morgan State, and some other places. What do you feel about that?
They absolutely should. I think more schools should do that because
Mm-hmm.
there has historically not been representation in this industry, in this field,
Right.
And it's not because people don't want to go into the industry. It's because there's a lack of access, a lack of resources, and really a lack of knowledge. People don't even know it's an option. You don't even
Right.
like, yo, I could do this. And so
Yeah.
I think that exposure early on, and particularly at HBCUs where you have this large conglomerate of Black people, like you have to expose them to as much as possible. So I think that's amazing, and I think more schools should do it.
Mm-hmm. How did your I kind of wanted to ask, what did your parents think about you not going to college for a boy? But like, how was your parents' support throughout your like career? Like, did it make sense? Like, what were their thoughts?
No, and I went to that year I took off. I went to a junior college, and they were like fine with it. He was like the piano player, so I feel like they were at church, so it was like, oh, it's okay. And then when I was like, no, I want to go to school, they actually were like, to Atlanta? Oh Lord, like what is happening? So that actually was not. They was scared about that.
Yeah.
But they grew to love Spelman as much as I did, really, and so it was fine. And I think that over the course of my career and the different things that I was able to do, they were actually really supportive. I mean, not that they had much of a choice, also because I was like so far, and it was like, hey, I'm doing this now. I'm doing this now. I'm doing
right.
This now. And after a while, it got cool. Like, oh, you're working with the NBA team. Okay, that's cool. Oh, you're doing the Emmy. So it eventually got cool. I remember when I did the radio station, it was in Seattle. My dad was still there. And I had to do a drop, right? Like we were at an event and I had to call the radio station and do like a live, like, hey, this is where we at. Y'all come through, blah, blah, whatever.
Yeah.
And my dad got to hear me do it. And he was just, oh, my dad is on the radio. Like just blown away. Just thought it was so amazing. Which is, I should remind him of that. But anyway, all of that, I would say that they have like been totally supportive and like excited. The thing that probably freaked them out the most was when I got the opportunity at Netflix. I had been living in Atlanta, had gotten married 2 years prior, and was pregnant with my daughter. And when I was 6 months pregnant, I got the email about an opportunity in Los Angeles. And so they were like, well, why would you move? Like, you shouldn't do that. You're fine. Like, why? And you're pregnant, Mel. Like, nobody hires anybody pregnant. Like, you're not going to get the job. And even if you do, like, you shouldn't take it. Like, they were freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got it, and they were like, okay, I guess. Like, it was kind of like, ooh, what are you doing? But also, okay, I guess. Yay. So, I ended up moving out here with my husband and had my daughter here. And I think they never showed or like outright told me
Yeah.
that like, you should not do this. But they definitely had some concerns. And I mean, I've always, I would say, been a kind of person like, I make a decision. This is very much me. I make a decision. I go. Like
Right.
I hate grays. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, what are my options? Okay, here's decision made. Let's do it. So that they just kind of deal.
Yeah. So what are some of the projects? Well, actually, I want to ask you a little bit more about your childhood. Like, what is a favorite tradition that your family did growing up? Did you have traditions?
I know. I'm trying to think of some. I don't feel like we really did.
Did y'all
Mainly
have like if y'all had biscuits on Saturdays or something?
no, but I was gonna say probably because my dad was military that like it didn't really allow for low-key consistency, right? Because
Right.
sometimes he would go to the field and he would be in the field for like a month, right?
Yeah.
Like we see him. Or one time he went to like Australia, he was gone for like 6 months. Um,
Mm.
or like it just, and then every 3 years you have to move. So like as
Yeah.
soon as you finally get settled, you get your friends, you have to up and leave again.
Yeah.
So can't even, I mean, we went to church. That was probably the tradition that we had growing up.
Right.
Church. That was it.
Mm-hmm. That's a form of consistency.
Yes, right.
So what projects have you worked on in your career, from your internships to Cartoon Network to CNN to Netflix?
It's always hilarious to me that when I was at CNN, I was there during the 2016 election, which was Trump was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working there when he like announced that he was going to be running for president.
Mm-hmm.
And so that like I left before the election actually happened, but that was like just a like crazy time, like working at a news station and CNN of all news stations during that time was like intense, but like one of my fondest memories because I just enjoyed the chaos, to be frank. So that one was interesting. And then at Netflix, the project I will forever be proud of. I worked on a show called Karma's World, which is on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
With the creator was Ludacris, which is why that Welcome to Atlanta story is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to work with him, and I was just so proud of that show. I've also worked on, there's a show called Motown Magic that's on Netflix. I got to work on, which I love.
I'm from Detroit, so that's a special place.
Those are probably the projects I'm most proud of. I mean, the Trump one is just a funny one, but
yeah,
things I'm proud of would be Karma's World for sure.
Yeah, like sometimes usually I like go to people's IMDb and list out people's projects, but the point is to like mention something and be like, oh, this person I'm watching, worked on something I liked, and now I'm having that for me because I was like, I love Motown Magic because I'm from Detroit and I love Karma's World.
Yes.
So you worked on my favorite things.
Yes, I love it. And my daughter loves them, and that's why I love it. Right? It's like being able to be a part of something that she also can be proud of is it matters 100%.
Did you get to tell Ludacris your Welcome to Atlanta story?
No, I would be too embarrassed. But I will say, when we were making Karma's World, I went out to New York and got to be a part of some of the music sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was incredible. Like I text my husband, like, I'm in the studio with Ludacris. Like, this is wild. So it was amazing. Like being able to be in the studio and watching his creative process, and the other, like there was a few other people. The producer was there and he's incredible. And just watching the way that he makes beats.
Yeah.
Like amazing.
Right.
That was like really incredible. And actually the other thing, another project that my husband just reminded me of, actually, there is a show called Bookmarks on Netflix that I am massively, massively proud of. It was after the George Floyd killing. We had this moment, I think all of America was kind of having a reckoning.
Yeah.
We're having this moment of like, what can we do, right? Like,
Right.
how can we make an impact? And so we had this idea of bringing books that were written specifically by Black people
Right.
and having celebrities read them, basically, and kind of setting it up as like a reading style, like a reading room.
Right.
And it was incredible to be able to find authors. And I have a book, and my book was also a part of that show. And so that was
read by Marseille Martin.
Yes, she read my book, and that was, I mean, something I would have never even thought in any world would have happened or could have happened, or nothing I would have thought of. And so being able to be a part of that in more ways than one, on the executive side, but also as a talent to have my book a part was incredible, and a highlight of my life more than just my career. Like, it was a highlight. It was really dope.
Yeah. When George Floyd got killed, I was off of Twitter for a long time. And then that's how I got back on Twitter, because there's so much activation, like you were saying. And from my personal vantage point of like who I follow on Twitter, particularly in the art and animation industry, it was like, for me, it was like 3 waves. So it was first Brianna Williams from BlkWmnAnimator. She tweeted, hire more Black animators. And that was like a boom, like of like conversation and activation. And then, so that was the first wave of things. And then there was a second wave where there was a lot of guys in comic books and animation who got called out for being predators and sexual assault. So that was a thing where a bunch of people were creating like Instagram accounts, like anonymous Instagram accounts, where people were sending in their experiences with several guys in the industry. And then the third wave was college students calling out their art animation schools for the racism that they experienced on campus. So a lot of SVA and like all that type of stuff. So there was like, those are the 3 things I noticed on like my timeline on Twitter, and like me getting back on Twitter and stuff like that. So George Floyd was the catalyst for like a lot of stuff.
A lot. It was such a just a reckoning. A lot of people were being called to the carpet, and it was necessary. It was so needed. It was, I mean, not, death was not needed. That's
right.
Clear. But this moment of people being called to the carpet and having to be called out for the things that they were doing, it was definitely needed.
And I feel like as Black people, we kind of are like, okay, what was the difference in this one? But I saw a particular conversation that one of my Facebook friends started, which couldn't be me because I can't educate white people like that. But he was doing the question, and he was just like, he kind of asked a question around like, what was the difference with George Floyd? And I think part of it was we were all in the pandemic and we could all see it from our couches. But I remember one white woman saying that, like, seeing the evil in the police officer's eyes, and like, I just was like, yes, I couldn't remember anything, but seeing the evil in his eyes. And my personal feeling when I saw that was just like, okay, so y'all didn't believe Black people the whole time we were talking, but to see another person that looked like you, they're evil in their eyes, but you couldn't believe our words and our experiences. But okay, I mean, if that was what had to happen, okay,
right. Yeah. this time where everything is recorded, it was time.
So when you worked at Cartoon Network, you hated like working in like children's content. So like, but then once you had your daughter working at Netflix, stuff like that, you kind of changed gears. So with hindsight being 2020, can you like figure out like, okay, what was your mindset at Cartoon Network where you were just like not plugged in, but then
why? Oh, absolutely. I did not like it because Cartoon Network, the demo was boys 6 to 11.
Yes.
That was like very explicit. It was very clear. I'm not a boy, and I was well beyond 6 to 11, right? So I was working every day on content that was not for me. It wasn't funny. It wasn't appealing. Nothing about it was for me. And I felt that. Like, I felt like, oh, I feel excluded.
Yeah.
So to feel like an outsider every day, and I was there for like 6 years, I
Right.
felt like an outsider. And so I started to believe what people have historically said about animation. It's for boys.
Mm-hmm.
I thought like I'm in this industry and it's not for me.
Right.
And so that's why I hated it. And then I got to Netflix, and when I got to content, it was like, oh, it don't have to be. And
Right.
why it was so hard to reconcile is because, like I said, I loved Sailor Moon, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that felt like it was for me. So like, why is this feel so exclusionary? Like, why?
Right.
Why? And then when I got to Netflix and on the content team, and I got to be a part of projects who the projects were created with other demos in mind. It wasn't just boys 6 to 11 anymore.
Right.
It was other cultures. It was other genders, and it was other age groups, and it was other, like, you're tackling different things. And I was like, oh wait, you could do this with animation. Like, if this, I like this animation. I don't like what they was doing over there, but I like this. And so that is what changed it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, having my daughter as well, but like that is what changed it for me, where I was like, oh no, I can work in this industry.
So what's the added piece with your daughter?
The added piece for me with her is that I became passionate about who is working on the animation, right? Like before, it was just like, I want a show that can be made for me. And low key, a show made for me could be made by anyone.
Right.
Like if you, a lot of people make a lot of things that they maybe shouldn't have, right? But like, if it appeals to you, it appeals to you. But when it became my daughter, it was like, oh no, I actually care about the writers now.
Yeah.
And I care about the showrunners, and I care about the artists, and I care about, like, from top to bottom, who is working on these shows. So that it's coming from an authentic place, and that there is care and consideration that goes into, you know, what my child is going to be watching. I remember working on the first time I saw Karma's hair on Karma's World. And I was like, well, who's over there? Like, who do you guys have over here? Because it was an obvious care that was taken.
Yeah.
Like, it was, the curls were not 1A or whatever, right? It was like, oh girl, this look like 4C. This look like 3C. You on this end of the curl pack.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff I can't teach that to an artist or
right.
I can't teach that to a storyboard. I cannot, right? You have to know that.
Yeah.
And so that it became like, all that stuff matters, and it started mattering a whole lot more when I had my daughter. It was like, oh no, now I have some real motivation behind this.
Yeah. I know because I curate, like, I have several, social media accounts, personal and like BlkWmnAnimator and all that stuff. And so I curate each one very specifically. And so for like my BlkWmnAnimator one, I follow a lot of artists, and I know when I'm scrolling through, getting inspired by art, I can tell when a non-Black person has done a Black person. Yep. I don't know what it is, but it's just like, yeah, that wasn't done by a Black person.
Yep. And we can tell.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah,
a lot of people can't, but we did this. That actually is my book. The reason that I wrote my book is because I had purchased this book that I thought was so cute on Instagram. A little Instagram ad had gotten.
Tell the whole story, because I was watching you tell the story somewhere else, and I was like, I need to respond to this. But okay, tell the whole story.
So I got an Instagram ad that was like, look at this adorable little like alphabet book. And I thought it was so adorable. So I ordered for McKinley, my oldest. And the book came, and no lie, it was 2 books. And no lie, when I opened the book and I was reading it, I had the moment you just was describing. Who wrote this? Because this ain't it. And I had gotten to, I don't remember now if it was number 3 or number 5, but it was a picture, an image of Kanye West, and it said Kanye West is juggling 3 Kardashians. And it was like Khloe, Kim, and Kylie. And I was like, there's a few things wrong with this. And now listen, Kanye got his issues, 100%. Okay, I'm never not a Yeezus fan. That's not who I am. However, there are credits and accomplishments that Kanye West is due. Whoever he is, right? If you are going to talk about him and want to praise him for anything,
right,
there are some accomplishments that cannot be taken away from him. And if you're going to celebrate him, I would expect those things to be highlighted.
Right.
And not his relationship or ability to juggle 3 Kardashians. That just ain't it. So I got to that page and I was like, oh no, I'm finna burn this book. Who wrote this book? Like this, I'm not giving this to my daughter. And so I started Googling the authors of the book. And I very quickly found that it was some white people from, I don't even remember what country from.
Australia.
Australia, yep. They was from Australia.
Because when you were telling, when I was hearing you tell this story on another platform, I was like, I know exactly what she's talking about because I remember the controversy. Because I was like, I remember this going down. I don't know on what social media platform, but I distinctly remember people, like I guess a rapper sued her, and because the title had his name in it, and I just was like, I know exactly what she's talking about.
Yep. I said, child, I missed all of that. I didn't even, but when I got the book, I was like, oh, people have already looked into this. I'm not even the first one. How did I miss this? I was shocked. I was completely shocked and so pissed. There was pictures of the authors in blackface, like on Facebook, and comments that were like wildly offensive. Right. And yet they have these books where they are profiting off of Black people and Black culture. And you don't even respect us. Like, no, absolutely. No, burning it.
Absolutely.
F y'all. So, I didn't mean to say that part. But anyway, I was done. So then I was like, I literally told my husband that day, I'm getting rid of this book and I'm going to write my own. And that's what happened. I was like, I don't know how. I've never written anything ever in my life, but we're going to start today. And then I did.
And I know I've seen like several interviews with different people about like, if I knew what the process was before, I don't know if I would have done it.
Hilarious.
So did you have that experience?
I didn't, but because I was really kind of making it up as I went along, like I was like, I don't really know where to start, but the thing I know first is I need an illustrator. I need somebody to draw these.
Right.
So, and I wanted to be Black women all across the board, Black women from beginning to end. So I just started searching hashtags for illustrators, and I did drawing while Black. That is the one I ended up searching all over Twitter, all over Instagram. And I found the illustrator and I was like, yo, here's this idea that I have. Like, what do you think? And I wanted somebody who was equally as excited and like understood where I was coming from. And she was like, yo, I'm down. Let's do this. And so, and then able to like get her perspective and all of that. So the illustrator part, it was cool. I enjoyed it, you know, being in the space. And then finding the people, like I enjoyed the space. It was a lot of work. At the end, I would say I probably was like, ooh, I don't want to do this no more. It, like finding, I had to find a company to actually make the book, to produce it, right? And I wanted it to be hardcover, and I didn't want soft cover. So like finding that company, I went through a few companies. I spent a lot of money. I had bad copies. I sent people copies, and like it was that part was stressful. And I hated that part, but at the end of the day, it was like, I'm making this up as I go. And, you know, ain't nobody else I'm going to be able to ask how to do it. So I got to figure it out. So, yeah, it was a lot, but it was fun. I enjoyed that time. It was fun.
And to tie the hashtag Drawing While Black, shout out to Abel Hayford, have like these lists of people. And during George Floyd, people were taking advantage of it, hitting up people, not giving them jobs, like not even taking the time to be like, okay, I need an animator. They would just email everybody on the list, not even look for who an animator was. And so there was that performative thing.
Absolutely.
During the activation after George Floyd, where it was like, okay, we're trying to do our thing over here as Black people and give y'all the resources, and y'all not even using the resources properly.
Yeah. I think I got that list, actually. I think I had a meeting with them.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to see like the list, what y'all have. And like, I was having meetings, you know, with people from that list, just trying to open the conversation. And, you know, it was the doors were open at the office anyway. People were like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, let me run in right now. Here's some people, here's a list, here's, you know, just trying to like flood all the it was asking, because it was like, I don't know how long this is gonna last, but I'm gonna try to make it happen while I can.
Because I moved to LA February 2020, and I was trying so hard to get a job from white guilt. Like, I was trying so hard.
That's so real. Hey.
I was like, I can do the job. Just hire me because you feel guilty, and I will do it. How did you choose for your book? How did you choose some of the more obscure people that we had never heard of, maybe that you had never heard of? Like, how did you find those people?
I did a lot of Googling, and I had so many different versions of that list of who was going to be the people. I am like Beyonce stan, okay? I like go hard. So it was like, oh yeah, B is Beyonce all day. But what I realized as I was, you know, choosing my people was that, why would I need to make a book of people everybody knows already? Like, the whole point is that there are people doing things. And I mean, even using animation as an example, there are people in industries that we don't even know are in those industries, and they look like us. But you feel like it's not even attainable because I've never seen somebody do it. And the example I'll go back to is, there is some person who wants to work in firefighting, doesn't want to be a firefighter, right? But just wants to work in that space and doesn't know how to, right? And I was like, who are the people who make the firefighting outfits, right? Like, who are the seamstress? Who comes up with the designs?
Yes.
If I can find that person, right? Them in the book. And then some little girl, some little boy is like, yo, this is an option. I could do this. I can help in this way. Maybe I'm not outfit and not holding the hose, but like, what if they are designing the trucks? What if they like whatever? And when I had that like epiphany, I was like, oh no, I want to change who I have. Like, I mean, there was some staples that I was like, Michelle Obama gotta go in here because she's Michelle Obama.
Right.
But what are the people that I've never even thought of? Who are, I remember finding the girl who does the race car. She was the first Black woman to work in the pit crew. Yeah, in the pit crew.
Yeah.
And I was like, how dope is that? She's down there changing the tires, getting the cars ready. She's not even in the car driving it. She's down there making sure they can drive. That's dope. And so that is it just inspired me and really excited me. I was like, oh, who else can I find? Who else haven't I found? Who else it just opens up, you know, like the amount of people you can tap into and highlight and celebrate in so many ways. So anyway, that made me have a bunch of versions of what that list was going to be. Yeah, I just had to settle. Like, this is what it is. I'm not changing it.
And that's why I want to interview people like you, because, you know, people only think of the animation industry as like being an artist.
Yeah.
And there's so many jobs. And like, even with what you said about why should I highlight people who everybody knows? Like, of course, I want to have like, you know, Floyd Norman, Peter Ramsey, Bruce W. Smith. But I really like interviewing the people don't know about, because those people, like, maybe even if they're a veteran, they have never gotten the shine. And it's like, oh, somebody wants to highlight me.
Yeah.
Or it can give access to someone where it's like, I don't really know how to draw, but oh, I can do that. Okay, then I can be in the animation industry. I love animation, but I just don't feel like I can draw. So
right. Yep. There's so many different doors and avenues to being in all the industries. Really, like anything you choose, you don't have to do it only the way that you see it. You can other ways. You know, just figuring out what that looks like, and so yeah.
So to go back to Karma's World, something that I loved about it was that it wasn't corny. Because, like, you know, when rap is included in stuff, it can be corny.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this is some nice lyrics, some nice cadence.
Yes. That makes me happy, actually. I mean, and Chris wrote the song, so
it's of course. So it's going to be non-corny.
Being able to tap into that talent and like have him, you know, use his creative juices to make those songs was great, but also the writing team, like the head writer, Halcyon is a Black woman, and she, would give, everybody was giving thoughts and notes and like trying to craft this in a way that like felt cool, because it's hard to be cool with these kids today, but like feels cool, that hopefully they find what is cool.
Yeah. And then there's, some of the episodes were highlighting like the mocking of her name, which, I feel like in the past couple years, I've tried to live in like not proximity to whiteness. And so accepting, I feel like I'm on this mission to get Black Americans to accept that our culture is a viable culture. And yes, I mean, some people can like, want to go find what happened in like Africa and stuff like that. But our culture leads the world, and we need to be proud of that, and we need to be proud of AAVE, because it's not just a bastardized version of English. It is a dialect that has grammar structure.
Yes, that's good. That's true. We can stand on our own. Amen. I love it.
So I was just in a conversation on Facebook, because I'm one of those people always be responding to me like, stop talking to them because they're not going. I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to talk to these people on Facebook. So like somebody called some name, it was like a LaDeja or something, like she called some African American name like awful. And I'm just like, it was actually, I think, on a post where this Asian guy, or he might he was Indian, which is Asian, and so he was doing this. He did this research to like how to pronounce people's names properly, and like don't immediately give me a nickname and all this stuff. And so somebody commented on like some they were talking about African American names and like how we add "la" and all that stuff, and it's like all names are made up. Like it's just, do y'all not know what this name means? Rock.
Right.
It's just that it's an accepted name now.
Yeah. That's so true. That is so true.
So there was the episode where they're about the mocking of her name, the bonnet episode, like all that type stuff. And I've seen like one where like there was like a video on maybe TikTok or something like that where the baby would not sleep in their like bonnet, and then the mom was playing the episode, and then the baby started sleeping, like wanting to wear the bonnet.
I love it. That is one of my favorite episodes. I'm proud of my hair. Like it just almost had me in tears, because for so long, right? Like Black women in particular, Black girls have not been proud of our hair. We have wanted it to change it and be different and look different and feel different and not curl like this. And so to be able to tackle that in a kid's show, was incredible. I was so happy and proud, and like the way that they wrote that, and the name one too, because to your point, it typically is, non-whites, right, who have the like weird names or hard names, but like no, they all are made up, just like you said. So being able to tackle stuff like that in that show was incredible.
Yeah, and then even because when in Insecure, when they had somebody going to sleep with a bonnet, like put that on TV. We do
bonnets
or head scarves.
Yes, and silk pillowcases. Let's talk about that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. So something that I think as we try to get more diverse content is that white executives will greenlight diverse storylines, and then as it's getting made, they'll either say, well, that's not funny. Like I remember them mentioning that in the 5 Heartbeats documentary, and Kevin on Stage has mentioned it with his churchy content, or they'll have to understand or they'll think they'll have to understand everything that's going on instead of like, hey, that conversation about who brung the dish, what is that about? They'll be like, oh no, take that out, I don't get it. And so in your time in the industry and as an executive, what do you think are some changes in behavior that executives have to adopt to truly get diverse content on screen?
You really need people at these companies, to be honest. Like I remember writing an email. I don't know what I was on. I must have been on like it must have been after George Floyd, and I was on a tangent. I don't remember if I wrote it actually or if I said it in a meeting. But I remember saying, you need me in the room when you have a Black person pitching. Because at the end of the day, you might not get it.
Right.
And it's not because you don't want to.
Right.
It's not because you're choosing not to. You just won't get it. Right. And so, and I remember, and then there was this quote, I forgot who made the quote, but it was a woman who said in like Kid Screen or something, but she was like, walking into a room and seeing an executive who looks like me is like, I feel like she likened it to like flying, or I can't even remember. It was such a dope quote though. I loved it for so long.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of that to say, because it doesn't stop at the pitch, right? Like, because people can go in the room and have great intentions. Yes, we got a show that's not white. Like, look at us. We did it.
Right.
Or from like, you know, straight people, or not from what, like, look at us being different. But it can't stop there.
Right.
Because next is the writers. Next are the animators. Next are, like, you need marketers. You need people who understand through and through.
Right.
And so if you want true diversity, if you want true authenticity, you have to have people in positions all the way through. The minute you don't, that can turn right how something is presented.
Yes.
I remember working on a show, I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was Bookmarks. And there was some Black girls who were like doing some ad kind of promo-y things. And she looks like she had just gotten off the playground. And while that could be fine, I was like, if the white girl in this ad if somebody on set would have brushed her hair and put in a nice little ponytail, right? First off, Black girls' hair, you can't just take a little paddle brush and put in a ponytail, right? No, you can't do that. So don't make her look like she just got off the playground, but all the other kids wouldn't look like that, right? Like, at the end of the day, there is, let's be consistent. So change that picture out, or we're going to reshoot this ad, right? So that she looks like everybody else, right? And anyway, that wasn't like, it wasn't intentional, but just something, an experience in which I was like, I got to raise my hand on this. I feel like we can do better than this. We got to change this, you know? Yeah. And it's like, those kind of moments don't exist if you don't have people on your team who reflect the content that you're putting out, or whatever that content is. You have to have people through and through, or else stuff like that will just get missed. And even when you have people on the team, sometimes it gets missed, low key. Sometimes stuff still gets through. But you run into that less, I would say, if you have people, if your team is as diverse as the content you say you're putting out.
Yeah, I remember I had a Facebook status a few weeks ago where I was like, can I just be paid to make sure Black children on TV have lip chap and like their hair? Because like, why do y'all be putting people in commercials like this? Like why is his lips ashy? Why?
Lotion and chapstick every set, every time, please, and a little edge control.
Yeah, and they be having a little. I'm like, oh, can somebody brush her hair back?
If it's not about playing, right, and like looking kind of frazzled, then let's get these kids together. Lotion, chapstick, a little edge control, and a brush. Bare minimums on all the sets. Yeah, amen. Do that.
Yeah.
Good job.
So, to talk about, people at every level, luckily, in a Black production I've worked on, I've been empowered to be like a cultural expert of sort.
Oh, nice. And
so, but sometimes there's this, I feel like sometimes even the most allyist ally, they don't sometimes see the importance of it because they just don't realize like we have different cultures.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we're all Americans, but we don't live like y'all. Like,
we don't.
And so, and then something I realized by interacting with a lot of people on social media is that I've come to the conclusion that sometimes white people are afraid of that word, like Black and white. And I'd be like, they are just adjectives. Okay. Like, you're not racist if you use the word Black, and you're not racist if you use the word white. It's like that's sometimes the bar for them, that I called them a white person. They're like, you're racist. And I'm like, that's an adjective.
right. What else?
So
yeah.
Fast forward to an animation production when they got to look up reference images, they're not going to type black. So sometimes I have to like, I had to like, you know, I'm in a meeting and I'm like, let me just, because I'll have to tell you a story later. But like, I'll just be like, let me just type this for y'all.
Let me help y'all. Okay.
Or like we had like a pan of macaroni and cheese. I was like, do not put no breadcrumbs on it, please. Okay, that's not what we do over here. Just in case they hadn't done it. Just in case.
Yeah, just in case. No, that's yes, 100%. That's hilarious.
What are the reactions that you've received from people for both of your books, ABC for Girls Like Me and ABC for Boys Like Me?
Mainly positive. I've gotten a lot of really incredible videos of kids with the books, kids reading the books, which always it brings tears to my eyes. And also I'm like, oh my gosh, something that I created is like impacting people I don't even know in this way. Like, that's incredible. I also got, I was blessed enough for some of the people that I highlighted to allow me to send them the book, and they've signed it. So like Loretta Lynch, and the first, she's vice president in all of the Americas. She is in Costa Rica, and she like speaks Spanish first off. So we were like having to like Google Translate as we were talking, but she asked me to send her a book so that she could sign it for me. And I was like, yo, this is wild. Like, are you kidding me? So that was really dope. Allison Felix, who is like the most decorated track star, who I love. She just retired, but I'm obsessed with her. She signed a book for me, and she has one. She like did an ad on her Instagram. I don't even know, like a couple months ago.
Nice.
And she was in her daughter's nursery, and on the bottom shelf was my book sitting there. And I was like, oh my gosh, like she just really has it, you know, in her daughter's room. Like, how incredible is that? So being able to have some of the people that I highlighted appreciate the book and like, be proud of what I did is amazing, and something I also never would have even dreamed of. But the kids, the boys and the girls who have the books and are taking the pictures and reading them, that is more than I ever could have even dreamed, because it really did start out as like, I'm doing this for my daughter. Like, I just want her to have one. And then it was like, why not sell it? Other people should, you know, have the same thing. And so that the fact that it's gotten to as many people, and then it was on Bookmarks, like I said, on Netflix. It was also, I worked on a project called Family Reunion on Netflix, and it on that show as well. And I was like, 2 Netflix shows, like, you know, those are, I just never would have imagined. And so to get all of the positive feedback from people, it is amazing.
So we've both suffered from this complex of not considering ourselves authors. Like when I came out with my book, I came out with a book in 2017 called The Black Hair Alphabet. And essentially what I did was like, I did like a little daily Black History Month thing. And I had these images. I was like, I got the images. Let me just create a little alphabet book.
Yeah.
And then like people started buying it, and they were like, oh, can you sign it? I was like, oh yeah, people do that, huh? I was like, yes. I mean, yes, okay. And then like you're signing it for somebody's child, and you're like, like what should I write? Because like you could just write something, and then 20 years later they're like, yeah, she wrote this in my book, and this is what, like, I'm like, I just thought of that.
Yes. Trying to figure out is like, oh wait, who you want me to sign it? They're like, you the author. I am. Okay.
I was like, I just put some images in some words, like, because I didn't even write. I just was like, A is for Afro. That's not even writing. So how am I?
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's like it's ain't real writing, y'all. No, but you are an author. Own it.
But I felt like we had similarities. Like, oh, I guess I am an author.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know.
That's hilarious. I met with a writer once, and she was like, you're the author, Melanie Goolsby. And I was like, oh no, girl, I'm not an author. And she was like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. Well, somebody has your name, and she wrote a book. And I was like, oh, that's really, really cool. And she was like, ABCs. And I was like, oh wait, that's me. She was like, yeah, girl. it's that, yeah, like bringing those, reconciling that, like, oh wait, does that make me an author? I didn't realize it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm glad you identified me on that, because it's hilarious.
So funny. So can you talk about what is underrepped?
Oh yeah, listen, you better do the research. Okay, here for it. Yes, that's hilarious. It actually was started out of a photo shoot that I was doing for the boys book.
Okay.
I was doing the ABCs for Boys Like Me, and I had these adorable little boys and wanted them to have like a little outfit. And initially I had some shirts made that said underrepresented, because it was like, I wanted everything about me is about like repping for underrepresented people.
Yeah.
And so when I did the kids, I was like, instead of like fully having underrepresented, like, I'm trying to be cool. How can we make it cool? So we did underrepped. And I just got a lot of positive feedback about that. Like a lot of people asking about the shirts, like the sweatshirts, are they more for kids or like some for adults? And so I went back and forth. I also was obviously working full time.
Yeah.
And so I went back and forth about doing it. And my husband and he was like, we should just put some out. So we put some out.
Mm-hmm.
And they were selling, which was really dope. And I mean, it obviously helped. My brother-in-law is Kev on stage, so it was like obviously helped being able to tap into his fan base. And so Marseille actually ended up wearing it, and another comedian like just started like wearing them and asking about them, which I was like, oh, this is kind of dope. And then when we sold out, I just kind of like, was focused on work and being a mom and everything else. I never picked it back up. And then last year, my husband was like, we should start selling them again. And so I was like, okay. So yeah, we basically started, selling the crew necks is what we have. I think we have shirts too, but it really is just about repping, for underrepresented people. It's about supporting and, being able to say like, for so long, y'all kind of counted us out, but you not for much longer. Like we proud of who we are. Just like you said, like we can stand on our own, like our culture is to be celebrated, and it's amazing, and I'm proud to be who I am and to be a Black woman. So that's really what it's about. It's just about celebrating where you come from, and it's not just for Black people. It's like whoever you are, right? Like being in space in animation, and it's not typically women. Like you can be, that's for you're underrepresented in that space, or whatever that looks like for whoever you are. That's really what the heart of it is about.
And You Thought I Forgot a Gift, is that venture yours too?
Listen! Yes.
What is that about? How did you start
that? That is, we're getting it kind of up and going again. It's still, I mean, it's up and it's available. You Thought I Forgot gift.com. It basically, again, it's about underrepresentation. I was looking for some gifts a while ago for some people. Obviously, being in the pandemic, you can't be everywhere. So just being able to like send stuff over to people. Yeah. But every time I was looking at like gift boxes, they were like corny and nothing I wanted. They would be like socks that said just corny stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to send like, or I was like, I like what this, but I don't like this in the box, like whatever. And so I wanted to send a box to my best friend Tiara. She a couple years ago, she had broken up with her boyfriend, and she was so heartbroken, and I couldn't come visit her, and I wanted to, but I couldn't. And I was like, I wish there was like something, like I needed like Beyonce in a box. Like I wanted to send her something that would make her feel good and like feel like she was having a girls' night, even though I wasn't there. I couldn't find anything. So I kind of let the idea go. And then she got a promotion earlier this year. And I was like, I have to send her something. And so I ended up just picking up the pieces and like putting together a cute little box. And I was like, I should do, like, I wonder if there's other people like me who are like, none of these boxes are really speaking to what I want. And so I was like, let's like, stock up on some inventory, get some really cute boxes, make a cute little name. And the You Thought I Forgot is really because many times you do forget to send people gifts. So it's kind of like, you thought I forgot, I got you, so just come up with a cute little name and being able to send something, to somebody when you can't be there. So I wanted some fun stuff. I wanted like a breakup box in honor of, her breakup. I wanted some like, you go girl, you did it. So that's what that company is all about. And that one is live, and we're jamming on that too.
Cool. Because growing up, sometimes your mother might have like that, or your grandmother might have that stack of cards. And like later in life, I'm like, oh, because I be headed to people's birthday and I forgot to get some.
Yes.
So I'm like, let me get a stack of cards.
Yup. Just so you can quickly grab, do a little, Yes, yes. And that's why I love the name. When I filed for the LLC, every time I called, they would be like, what is this? This is a funny name. Like, what is it for? And I would tell them like it's because most people, and like me, forget. And so it's just a play on that. But it's really kind of fun. It's meant to be fun and like, just consider it like, yo, I did forget really, but you don't need to. Here is like something cute just to let you know I was thinking of you. You're on my mind. Congratulations. Happy birthday. Like whatever that is.
Yeah.
That's what the point is.
Nice. How has being Black or a woman or any other ism impacted your career? Has it impacted your career in any way, do you feel?
I mean, at this point, low key, I feel like it's a good thing because people be like, a Black woman in animation and a girl. Yes, come talk to us, So at this point, I feel like it's helping.
Right.
Early on, though, I don't know that it really did. The other thing is, and this just goes back to the earlier part of our conversation, coming out of Spelman, I left feeling like, oh, I'm the business, like I'm good. So if you don't want me, something wrong with you, not me.
Right.
And so even if there was things kind of, and I'm sure there were, and those I have examples for sure, but like I for so long have felt like I got this and I'm good at this. I'm good at what I do and I know I can get stuff done. So like I'm gonna make it happen. So I didn't allow it to negatively impact me for sure. At this point, it definitely feels like a positive because everybody is like, oh my gosh, a Black woman, we have to have her because white guilt and like information, like please come talk to us. So at this point, it's a positive.
So if someone else wants to become an executive in animation, what tips would you give them to like what kind of path should they take, or what kind of networking should they do? Like what journey can they take?
I'll try to give some, but mine was so unorthodox. Like the way I even happened into it, it was just I was in operations as a project manager and I worked with the content team so well that when they had an opening, my boss at the time just was like, we really like working with you. Like, would you ever come to content? I know you wrote a book. And I was like, oh, if that can put me over there, sure. Like it just kind of happened that way. Thankfully, I'm happy that it did. But even in that, I think the lesson there, I hate the word networking because it's like, what does that even mean? Like nobody likes that. That's so boring. But when you have connections with people, keep those connections. I think at the end of the day, networking to me is really like, it's not the fluff, it's not the fake stuff, it's not the whatever. It's really about when you have a connection with somebody, and not just somebody you can later use or later talk on. It's just about when you have connections, just maintaining those connections. Every once in a while, say Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Easter. Like Happy 4th or Happy Juneteenth or whatever, Merry Christmas, like whatever that looks like. And it don't have to be long and drawn out. You ain't gotta go to lunch every time. Sometimes coffee is 15 minutes. Like it can be quick. Or just a check-in and making sure you're not just talking about you, but asking about them, right? Like, how are you? What's up with, making sure it's authentic and genuine in that way. Because then things happen in that way. So I think the first thing I would say is like building on genuine connections and being just a good genuine person in that regard. When it comes to being an exec though, I would say, and rather this is animation or other fields as well, or other genres, understanding it's hard because I enjoy like TV where I can lean back. Like I enjoy sitting back, like entertain me. But if you want to be an exec, really dissecting what you're watching and understanding what's interesting to you and why, right? Like if something is not interesting to you, figuring out where you tapped out, where did I stop caring, or who do I care about and why? When did they introduce this person? Like dissecting all of that helps you become a good executive, right? Because then you're able to articulate to people hey, this script is not working, or this isn't working, or I don't care about this person. Like, that's what it really is. It's just helping to craft an incredible story that people are going to care about, and characters, right?
Yeah.
So I would say starting there as far as the executive side, but if it's specific to animation, you really have to study like animation, right? There's so many shows in animation take 3 years. Okay. It is a long time.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. There's different parts and pieces and people who are a part of that process. So really, you really have to study that part. Like, there is no, shortcuts to that. You really have to understand how is a show made. And I mean, it's on YouTube. You can Google and figure out literally how that is made. So just taking the time to do that, I think, are the tips I would suggest and recommend, starting there at least.
I know that you're in a transition period right now, but thus far, had you decided what your purpose was in regard to Blackness and like Black professionals in animation, or were you kind of still figuring that out?
I still was figuring it out. I still am figuring it out. I think right before I went on maternity leave, so before I was left for maternity at Netflix, I was doing a lot of panels and starting to like really kind of dabble in that kind of stuff. And I was enjoying being able to speak from my perspective and encouraging people. And I was getting a lot of like positive feedback about that. So I love that. I also really, a lot of people feel like, Black people in particular, feel like feel like storytelling, Hollywood is like so distant and like not accessible to them. It's it's gatekeepy, right? Like there's gatekeepers and they can't get past it. And so I do have a passion and like an interest in breaking some of that stuff down. Like really, talking through my experience as an exec, and the fact that like there was no magical thing that happened that allowed me to be exec, right? Like I had a relationship, she invited me over. When I got over there, I busted my ass, and then there we go. Like really making it feel more accessible than it currently does is what I love to do. But I got to figure out what that looks like, and they really even care. In my mind, I'm like, they care, but maybe they don't. Maybe they're like, girl, we're past that.
They do.
Well, YouTube, the internet, Instagram makes everything like, it's so different. It's a different world. So I'm like, you could also just make it from your phone. So,
pretty much. I know I was using my phone at first for this channel.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere. Hey,
your brother-in-law is Kev on stage. Your sister is Miss Kev on stage. Are your sister and your brother-in-law inspirational for you? Now that you're in a space to kind of think about your future, is that like a powerful thing to be juxtaposed to them?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I'm always blown away by them. I always have been. I think my sister is incredible, and obviously Kev is as well. The way that they just make stuff happen and have built, he has a whole app, like a whole, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, why did you even think that was something you should do? Like my mind would have stopped. Like, I'm going to be an exec. Kev's like, I'm going to make my own app and be my own exec and be like, wait, hold on. We're different. How did you get there? So it's like being around people who don't have a ceiling, right? When they think about themselves is wild and so inspiring, right? I'm like, I ain't got no job. And he's like, we can make 5 jobs. Like you don't got to ever work again for them. You can work for yourself. And it's really a gift, right?
Yeah.
My parents entrepreneurship was never a thing growing up for me. Like get a job, go to work, retire, and then you just live at home. But like in your house that you paid for, and bam, you got benefits, you did it.
Right.
So being able to be around entrepreneurs, who don't think like that and encourage you not to. And are successful. It's not just like they out here like trying to no.
Like, we doing Primerica.
Right. These people out here are successful. I'm like, oh, this can be done.
Yeah.
It's a blessing. It is a blessing. And one of the things that I love about being in LA, because otherwise I would have left a long time ago. But being around them it really, I feel like it's allowing me and my husband to just tap into something that we otherwise never would have. And so
Yeah.
I'm definitely grateful, and inspired by them.
Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, I didn't even want to move here. I was like, I am too old to be poor.
Girl, ain't nobody got time.
I know your sister recently ended the Love Hour podcast,
mm-hmm.
and then you're in a transition. And I know with her ending the Love Hour podcast, she was talking about like trying to figure out what she was doing next, and you're trying to figure out what you're doing next. So are y'all on the journey together, or is she ahead of you? Like, and how does that feel to be like with your sister and then y'all starting a podcast? Like,
yes.
How is that?
Yeah, we it's fun. She definitely is further than me because
Yes.
I'm here still applying to jobs. I'm like, yeah, girl. Also, here's my resume. Is anybody hiring? Whereas she's like well beyond, going back to 95. But the benefit, the thing that I do love, to your point, we just started a podcast, which has been fun. It's only episode 2, but like that's been really fun. And she's so knowledgeable, and so she's helping me. I'm trying to do like figuring out, maybe I'm going through this little influencer journey, and like I'm also just enjoying making fun videos of my kids, but she's this and like helping. So her being able to like help me in that way has been fun. But to that point, she's also trying to figure out like, what is my, like social media persona? Like, what does that look like? What is the thing I want to kind of gift? And like you said, she was doing Love Hour, and she just has so much that she wants to pour into people. So like figuring out what's next for her. So we are kind of on a journey together, but also she's lapped me a couple times. Okay.
Right.
She's well beyond, I'm starting out and she's like on mile 5.
Right.
But she doesn't
but
mind.
She helping you keep pace.
Absolutely. She don't mind slowing down and helping me bring, come along, which has been nice. It's been amazing.
So my last question, if you were if someone was producing a documentary about you, what things would you want them to highlight about your life outside of your career?
That's a good question. I would say highlight about me outside of my career is that that's a really good question. I would hope what's highlighted is my love for my people, right? And it's like when I ride with my whoever it is, right? Like my husband, my kids, my sisters, my family, my friends, like I want people to know that that's what it is. Like Mel got me at the end of the day, like that's what it is. And so just highlighting like that's the kind of person that I strive to be. I hope I am, and I hope that it's felt, around the people that I love. Like I want to make sure they feel loved and know that I love them. The older you get, I sound like an old person now, but the older you get, you really see how short life really is.
Yeah.
And, people are taken for any kind of reason, like some of these celebrity deaths have really impacted, our generation in a way that we would be like, oh, that person died. Like, it's sad, but it didn't hit you the way that some of Chadwick.
Like you were younger, but now you like they aged.
Yeah. Like Chadwick Boseman dying, and you're like, oh my
God. Even like, because I was watching a clip with Kobe yesterday, and I'm just like, it was just like, I wasn't even like a Kobe fan. I wasn't like a Lakers fan, but it was still like Kobe.
Yeah. Nipsey Hussle, like some of these people just impact you, their deaths. And so you just really start to see how short life is, how it can be taken for granted, and how it can be gone, people you love. And so I would hope that the people that I love really feel my love, and like that I bring joy to them, and it's not like a burden or like heavy, but like, I love being around Mel. That's what I would hope.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to like follow you, first of all, like until you mentioned it on Gin and Juice Now, did you hit record? I did not. I've been following you for so long on Twitter. I did not know how to say your name. I thought it was like you veggie. I was like, what? I don't know. But when you said, I was like, oh, I felt so dumb.
Oh, I'm gonna have to follow you. You've got Mel. It's on social. You can find me at You've Got Mel, but it's YOUVEGT. There's no O in got because somebody else took it before me. That's the only reason. And then MEL. So You've Got Mel on Instagram. And all my other social handles are right in the bio. It's also You've Got Mel on Twitter. I'm a little more reckless on Twitter, but it's a good time.
I enjoy it.
And then, like you said, we also have started a podcast that we are calling Did We Hit Record? With my sister, Miss Kev on Stage, and me, that we will be doing that weekly. So that's a good time. Yeah.
So I would like to thank you for allowing me to highlight you.
Thank you. This was amazing. I appreciate it.
No problem. And to everyone out there, I would like you to like So I Know It's Real, comment and tell me how you feel, subscribe to Seal the Deal, and sign up for post notifications to show your zeal. And I'll see you in the next video.
Love it.